you will see what this thing is capable of, especially you women out there. Just kidding. Hello, welcome to Scratch 3D Printing. I've been, as you know, as usual as people, scrolling on YouTube Shorts, and what good comes in that? Well, I found a video. I'll put it right here. I saw that video and I was like, huh, that is interesting. So I was like, okay, I think I might as well try and model this so that it's good practice for me for my future projects. So I did it, and let's see how it turns out. Let's scratch to this project. So the sample that I showed you guys there, everything will be linked in the description, and this is my take on it. I made this. Look at this. Look at this thing. This is called a spring hammer because it has a spring, but on the video the spring is up here, and I don't have that long of a spring, so I decided to use these kind of spring. If you expand them, they're gonna want to go back to its original form. The other one, they expand and you push. It's like a suspension on a car, right? So they expand and you push them to make them smaller, and then they just retract back. But this one is the opposite way. This one you make them expand and then retract. So this is my take on that spring hammering thing of that shorts video I saw, and I think it turns out pretty good. Let me explain how this comes into this concept. So in the video I saw, it was hammering and this thing is turning. They made a really good model showing the inside of it, so I took that references and made my own. On the video it seems like they use a belt, but for me, I feel like a belt is gonna slip and it's not gonna hold well, so I use a timing belt. And to be mindful, all of this is 3D printed except the motor, the nuts, the screw, and the shaft here, and of course the bearing. This shaft was supposed to be a 3D printed shaft, but it broke. It couldn't handle the tension here. This belt here is printed from PLA Flex. It's from Flash Forge. Their filament are really cool. I love this PLA Flexi filament. It's kind of like TPU. It's not as flexible as TPU, but it is pretty flexible, and if you deform it, it doesn't really go back to its original shape. So don't deform it. But with this is really good. This is quite heavy. It's because of the motor. So I modeled this on Filament 360. I first take measurements of my motor, 895 motor. I modeled my motor and I make the stand, make the motor holder. Then I went upon and make this middle piece, which I don't really know what's called. Made this middle piece, and then I made these timing belt pulley. The timing belt and the timing belt pulley here, and then there was the hammer. So hammer usually have two sides, but for 3D printing purpose I made this top flat because this is pretty much the only things that we need. To be honest, at first I was trying to make this thing hammer up and down, but that did not work well, and it kind of turned into something different that I'll show you later on. It's actually really cool. And yeah, and for the spring, not quite sure what this spring is called, but it has two hooks on each end. So then I make this U-ring and then bolt it down to this piece down here, and then just loop this through the hammer up here. And of course the hammer have this thing so that when you spin this, right, so essentially this is what happened when you spin it. It's gonna hit this. There's I can't really show you what the inside looks like here, but I guess I can try to. It's like a circle piece that just go around in circle and hit this hammer so that it goes up and down. So essentially it's gonna hit it, right, and then it's gonna make the hammer jump like this, if I can go past it. Once it go past, the spring brings the hammer back, and that's it. It's really cool. Yeah, and I made this base board here have these lines here so that I can adjust how tight I want the belt to be, or to loosen the belt so that I can retighten everything in. So I'll show you all the broken pieces. The shaft used to be this thing, so it wasn't holding it, because every single time it spins and hits the hammer, the spring is way too strong, so it couldn't hit the hammer and make it go up. So it just keep spinning in a circle and it doesn't work. The motor just stops. So I use a heat insert, a bolt trying to drill into the rod, but it still doesn't work. And eventually the rod just broke in half. And this was the first piece that I bolted the spring into, this piece down here, and it was way too low, and the spring has way too much power, and this chain loop here with this timing pull, this pulley here does not have the strength to hit the hammer up. So I redesigned a U loop here to make it higher so that there's less tension onto the spring and it can actually go up and hit it. And yeah, that was pretty much it. The motor and everything works well, all the pulley works well. It's just this rod that was not strong enough, so I replaced it with the metal shaft here and it works great. So yeah, I just put everything here and then just put on the timing belt and then just power the motor on, and we will see this in action right now. Oh yeah, and of course I use bearing to make them spin easier, and bearing up here. And yeah, I'm holding this hammer with this filament here, so if you wonder what this is, I model a hole here with the shaft here is 3D printed, and I just put this in there so that the hammer is locked in with this shaft here so that it can rotate up and down. So if I don't do that, the hammer won't go up. So let's get this thing powered and see the action. Last time I said that this is a gearbox, it's wrong. It's not a gearbox, it's like a box just with motor and power supplies. Let's get this power. Okay, so here we go. I got my power supply over here. So here is what the concept of this thing actually is or look like. So let me power this thing on. Look at that. So yeah, this shaft and this middle thing inside of that, it doesn't hold well, right? I tried using a screw attached on top of it. It doesn't work. So what did I do? I super glue it, and let's see how this works. It doesn't work well enough because that gray piece inside of that is slipping from the rod, so it does not have the power to hit this thing to go upward. I tried super gluing this to it, but I think when I was playing around with it, it kind of got loose and it doesn't work anymore. So, but you just saw a little bit right there, right? So that's exactly how this works. But here, since it does not work anymore, I'll show you what I found very interesting of when this doesn't work. You can make this into a different machine. Let me show you. Okay, so you just take the bolt off, just pull this thing, and then, yeah, there we go. The hammer's free now. So I did it and I turned the power on, and you will see what this thing is capable of, especially you women out there. Just kidding. What do you think about that? That looks so cool, right? It turns from a spring hammer into something completely different. When I turned the motor on and I saw that, it was so funny, man. You guys want to see it again? Oh my gosh, so powerful. It just kicked this thing off. Yeah, that's so cool, right? Even with this thing, it does not have the power to lift the hammer, but it's just that because that piece in there, it's not tight with the rod, so when it hit it, it doesn't have the power to kick the hammer up. It's just stuck. And you can hold this part and spin this rod, and it's gonna spin. It's the first concept I did it. Modeled this in a couple of hours, and I think it turned out really good. First time using pulley, and I can't believe I actually got this really nicely down in. It doesn't seem like it fits well because this thing keeps moving and it's hard to bolt it down, but I feel like it's really nice. Wow, and first time using tie and build pulley, and I think it is really interesting. What do you guys think about that? Well, but anyway, I think that will be it for today's video, and I hope you guys enjoy that. If you do, make sure you subscribe to this channel because more stuff like this is coming in the future. I'm doing this as I learn, and I hope you guys learn something too. And yeah, this concept looks really cool. For next time, I think I'm gonna do a little bit more gear ratio so that the output has more torque, and maybe mount the hitter to the shaft a little bit different so that the shaft and the thing that hits the hammer bonds really nicely together so that it does not spin. The motor has the power to do it. It just shut off to protect itself from burning out, and that is nice. It's like a 12 teeth to a 30 teeth, so you can do the ratio. It's not the highest gear ratio. It doesn't have the highest torque output. Maybe next time I might do like a 10 to 1 gear ratio so that the output is really strong and it just hit it. The hammer just fly over, and yeah, first time trying this and how this thing turns out, I'm really amazed with it. I cannot believe I'm amazed of myself. Thank you so much for watching this video and sticking with me and the channel throughout this whole time. We are really close to 1000 marks, so let's get there. I hope we get there at the beginning of April. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep on 3D printing.